Yeah, this is the chapter about Hanna Reitsch and the final days of the war in Berlin. That is a story of an action of flight through the position of the Russians in the end of April 95. In these final days, Hanna once again demonstrated her courage. Yeah, a courage without barriers. On April 25, 1945, in Munich, she received orders from General Robert Ritter von Greim to fly into the Führerbunker in Berlin. Hitler, Adolf Hitler was back then in the Führerbunker. It was only some days before the suicide of Adolf Hitler. The Russians were already standing only 1 kilometer from the Führerbunker. They were really very near to the center of Berlin. Hitler had personally summoned von Greim, General von Greim, to come to the bunker. The plan was to break through the Russian lines and reach the only airfield still in German hands, Berlin-Gatow. But Berlin-Gatow was outside the center of Berlin. So the plan was that first from Munich to get and fly to Berlin-Gatow, and then from Berlin-Gatow to get there a helicopter and get with the helicopter to the Führerbunker. That was the plan, because the helicopter could pass the Russian lines. However, the problem was the airfield Berlin-Gatow was under constant Russian fire, and the helicopters what were at disposal and planned for this action was hit. They couldn't use this helicopter. Yeah, problem, but not a problem for Hanna Reitsch. From there, they decided, so Hanna Reitsch and Ritter von Greim, so Hanna Reitsch was the pilot to get this general into the Führerbunker. She had to fly this general. She decided, okay, no problem, then we take a Fieseler FE 156 Storch light aircraft. So there was a little aircraft, a little sports plane, which were standing there and we will make it with that. We will not have the helicopter. Okay, then we will take the light aircraft. With the light aircraft, we can fly through the lines. We can make acrobatics styles of techniques, and the Russian will not hit us. And we will get to the Brandenburg Gate, and we will land on the street. On the Brandenburg Gate, the Germans made a improvised runway. On April 27, they landed successfully, and Hanna fulfilled her mission. In the bunker, she witnessed Hitler's final orders. So to get to the bunker, in the Führerbunker, she took care of the 6 Goebbels children who died there. Yeah, we have to imagine that only 2 days later, Hitler suicided himself with Eva Braun, and then only 1 day later, really 1.5, the Goebbels suicided the complete family with the 6 children. Everybody knew that this was coming, and also Hanna Reitsch knew that. She saw the little children there, and she tried even to persuade, like she's writing it later in her memoirs, she tried at any cost to persuade Magda Goebbels, the mother of the 6 children, to allow that the children to be evacuated. She can fly them out. She said to Magda Goebbels, "My God, madam, even if I must fly 20 times, the children must not stay here." Hanna pleaded as Rochus Mich, Hitler's bodyguard and telephone operator, later recalled also this dialogue. But Magda remained at his side, responded negatively. My children would rather die than live in shame and as object of ridicule. Yeah, that was the problem. She feared that after the end of the world, the children would face shame, and this is not worth living. A few days later, she dressed them in white, combed their hair, and poisoned all six with kyanite. Yeah, on April 29, 1945, the day before Hitler's death, Hanna left Berlin by the same, so only hours before Hitler's death, we can say, some hours, Hanna left Berlin by the same route she had to come. She again went back with the light aircraft. On the return flight, however, the light aircraft Fieseler Sturm came under heavy anti-aircraft fire. Yeah, her aircraft was damaged, but she managed to fly to the west, after the lines to Bavaria, where she was captured by the Americans. She was held and interrogated by the Americans, interrogated for 18 months before being released. After the war, she continued breaking flight records. Yes, after the war, she continued with her passion. At the age of 64 in 1976, she set a new woman's distance world record, 715 kilometers, with gliding. In 1979, shortly before her death from heart failure, she improved the record up to 802 kilometers. Yeah, she flight until death, we can say. When other older women are sitting at home in front of the television, drinking tea and fearing to have a cold, she were flying like the best young guys in the world, flying even better. At the end of her life, she maintained that Nazi crimes had been distorted by the victors. Falsification of history, she said, and in 1978 she wrote, more than 30 years have passed since the Second World War, and the lies spread about our country have since become reality. Yeah, we see that Hanna Reitsch was not really critical about the regime. She was not critical about Adolf Hitler. And that is at the end a little bit like we will say, it is a negative. It is not positive about her, but also this is true. Also, this is true that she was a supporter of the regime. Yeah? This is true. And even after World War II, she didn't change her mind. Yes, in summary, however, we have to say that Hanna Reitsch was above all a pilot. And maybe all the stuff about politics was not hers. Yeah? So maybe her admiration for Adolf Hitler, her admiration for the Third Reich was in the first place connected with her experience as a pilot in the Luftwaffe, because she had their positive emotions. She was working with other flying pilots in the Luftwaffe, and everything was positive. Everybody was admiring her, and in this context, we have to understand that she saw the regime positively. Yeah. Although after World War II, she knew about the crimes. Yeah, that is everything about Hanna Reitsch. So we have also to say some critics about her, the flying hero. Thank you, my dear listeners.